Retirement can make the world feel strangely quiet.
At first, people may ask how you are enjoying it. They may say, "You must be so happy to have all that free time." And maybe part of you is. Maybe you are grateful not to wake up to an alarm every morning. Maybe your body needed the rest. Maybe there are things about your working years you do not miss at all. But there is another side of retirement, one that people do not always talk about. The part where no one is expecting you at 8 o'clock anymore. The part where your calendar has more empty spaces than it used to. The part where the casual conversations disappear. The good mornings. The quick jokes. The familiar faces. The small complaints about the weather. Or traffic. Or someone bringing donuts to the break room. You may not miss the job itself, but you may miss being part of something. You may miss walking into a place where people knew your name. You may miss having a reason to leave the house before loneliness had time to settle in. And if you have been retired for a while, maybe you have discovered something tender and difficult. Real connection does not always come find you. Sometimes, after retirement, we have to go looking for it again. Not desperately. Not in a way that makes us feel small, but gently, with dignity, one place at a time. And I want to say something before we begin. If you have felt disconnected after retirement, it does not mean you failed at aging. It does not mean you are unfriendly. It does not mean something is wrong with you. It may simply mean that the old places where connection used to happen have disappeared. Work used to create connection without asking much from you. You showed up, and people were there. Now, you may have to choose new places, and that can feel awkward at first, especially if you have not had to make new friends in years. So today, let's talk about 5 places where real human connection can begin again after retirement. Not perfect connection, not instant best friends, just real places where your life can start touching other lives again. The first place is a familiar public place you already visit. This may sound too simple, but sometimes the first step back into connection is not joining a group or signing up for something big. Sometimes it begins at the grocery store, the coffee shop, the library, the park, the pharmacy, the diner with the same waitress on Tuesday mornings. A place where you can become a familiar face. That phrase matters. A familiar face. Because closeness often begins long before friendship does. It begins when someone recognizes you. When the person at the counter says, "Good morning," the usual. When the librarian remembers what kind of books you like. When the neighbor at the walking path nods, because they have seen you there before. When the cashier smiles and says, "Haven't seen you in a few days." These are small moments. But after retirement, small moments can become little threads back to the world. Many people wait for deep connection. And because they do not find it quickly, they assume nothing is happening. But real connection often starts with repetition. The same place. The same time. The same simple hello. You do not have to tell your life story. You do not have to be charming. You do not have to make anyone like you.
Just choose one place.
and return to it gently. Maybe every Monday morning you go to the same coffee shop. Maybe every Wednesday you walk the same path. Maybe every Friday you stop by the library. At first, nothing dramatic may happen. But slowly, the world may begin to recognize you again. And being recognized is not a small thing. It tells the heart, I still exist outside my own house. The second place to find real connection is a place where you can be useful. This is especially important after retirement, because many people do not only miss having people around, they miss being needed. They miss solving a problem. They miss being the person others could count on. They miss having a role. And that is why volunteering can be so powerful. And that is why volunteering can be so powerful. Not because it keeps you busy, but because it gives your care somewhere to go. It might be a food pantry, a church committee, a local animal shelter, a school reading program, a hospital welcome desk, a community garden, a library book sale, a neighborhood cleanup, a veterans group, a place where your presence helps something good happen. You do not need to volunteer 40 hours a week. You do not need to become responsible for everything. In fact, it is better to begin small. One morning a week, one task, one place where someone says, "We're glad you came." There is something healing about being expected, not pressured. Expected. There is something healing about walking into a room and knowing your hands, your patience, your stories, your steadiness, your humor, your experience. All of it still has a place. Retirement may have ended one role, but it did not end your usefulness. You still have something to offer. And sometimes, friendship grows best when people are standing side by side, doing something that matters. You fold donated clothes together. You serve coffee together. You plant tomatoes together. You sort books together. You help someone fill out a form. You carry chairs after a meeting. And slowly, without forcing it, conversation begins. That kind of connection can feel easier than sitting face to face and saying, "Please be my friend." You do not have to ask for closeness directly. You can simply show up where kindness is being practiced and let connection grow there. The third place is a small group that meets again and again. Not a large event, not a crowded room where everyone already seems to know each other. A small group, something repeated. A book club, a walking group, a Bible study, a grief group, a men's breakfast, a quilting circle, a gardening club, a class at the senior center, a community college course, a local history group, a gentle exercise class. The key is not the activity itself. The key is that it repeats. Because repeated meetings give people time to become less like strangers. The first time you go, you may feel awkward. You may sit near the door. You may wonder if everyone can tell you are nervous. You may leave thinking, I don't know if that was for me. But please, do not judge a place by the first visit. The first visit is often just the doorway. The second visit is where someone may remember your name. The third visit is where you may recognize a face. The fourth visit is where you may have a small conversation. The fifth visit is where you may begin to feel like you are allowed to belong. Many people give up after one uncomfortable beginning. But awkwardness is not a sign that you do not belong. It is often just the sound of your life, stretching toward something new. If you are a person who has been alone for a while, a small group may feel safer than trying to build closeness one-on-one right away. There is structure. There is a reason to be there. There is something to talk about besides yourself. And over time, that structure can become a bridge. You talk about the book, then the weather, then your neighborhood, then your children, then the fact that mornings have been quiet lately. Little by little, people become real to one another. That is how closeness often returns. Not through one dramatic conversation, but through many small returns. The fourth place is a place where your body can move beside other people. This does not have to mean a gym. And it certainly does not have to mean pushing yourself beyond what is safe. It may be a walking group, a chair yoga class, a water aerobics class, a gentle stretching class, a Tai Chi group in the park, a mall walking group in winter, a dance class for beginners, or simply a neighbor who walks slowly at the same time you do. Movement has a quiet way of helping people connect. You do not have to stare across a table and think of something clever to say. You can walk side by side. You can comment on the trees,
The weather.
the birds, the sore knee, the good shoes, the funny dog passing by. Side-by-side connection can feel less exposed, especially for people who are not used to talking about feelings. Especially for men who may not want to say, I have been lonely. Especially for anyone who feels awkward beginning a friendship from scratch. Sometimes the body makes the first friendship before the heart knows how to. You show up. You walk. You breathe. You say good morning. Then one day, someone asks, will you be here next week? And something in you softens. Because after retirement, those words can mean more than they seem to mean. Will you be here next week? That means someone noticed. Someone expects you. Someone has made a small place for you in the rhythm of their day. And that is connection. The fifth place may surprise you. It is your own home, not as a place to hide, but as a place to invite one small thread of life back in. Many people think connection means they must always go out. But if your energy is lower now, or your health makes outings difficult, or you've gotten used to being home, connection can still begin where you are. Your kitchen table can become a place of connection. Your porch, your phone, your mailbox, your favorite chair, your Sunday afternoon. You might invite one neighbor for coffee. Not a dinner party. Not a perfect house. Just coffee. You might call one person every Thursday morning. You might write one card a week. You might send a photo of something blooming in your yard. You might ask a grandchild, would you like to hear one story from when your parent was young? You might start a small tradition. Sunday tea with one friend. A monthly phone call with an old coworker. A standing video call with family. A handwritten note to someone who's going through a hard time. Your home does not have to be a silent room where life only echoes. It can become a place where connection is sent out. And sometimes received. Of course, inviting connection can feel vulnerable. You may worry the house is not clean enough. You may worry people are too busy. You may worry they will say no. You may worry that reaching out first makes you look needy. But wanting company does not make you needy. It makes you human. There is nothing shameful about saying, "Would you like to come over for coffee sometime?" There is nothing shameful about saying, "I would love to hear your voice this week." There is nothing shameful about saying, "I miss having people around the table." That is not weakness. That is honesty. And honest warmth is one of the bravest things a person can offer. After years of keeping quiet. Now, as we talk about these 5 places, I want to be careful. Because when you are lonely, advice can sometimes feel like pressure. Someone says, join a club.
Someone says,
Get out more. Someone says, make new friends. And even if they mean well, it can sound as if the loneliness is your fault. So let me say this clearly. You do not have to do all 5. You do not have to become busy. You do not have to fill every empty space. You do not have to prove that retirement is wonderful. You only need one doorway. One place where your life can gently touch other lives again. A familiar public place. A place to be useful. A small, repeated group. A place to move beside others. Or your own home. Opened just a little. Choose the one that feels least heavy. Not the most impressive. Not the one someone else thinks you should do. The one that feels possible. Because possible is where healing begins. Maybe this week, all you do is go to the same coffee shop twice. Maybe you look up one volunteer opportunity, but do not call yet. Maybe you attend one class and sit quietly in the back. Maybe you walk at the park and say good morning to one person. Maybe you send one message that says, I was thinking of you today. That is enough for a beginning. Please remember, real connection after retirement may not feel like the connection you had before. It may not look like coworkers in the break room. It may not look like a house full of children. It may not look like the marriage you miss. It may not look like the old neighborhood, the old church group, the old friends, the old life. But different does not mean empty. Smaller does not mean meaningless. Slower does not mean too late. You are not too old to be known. You are not too late to be included. You are not a burden for wanting someone to notice. When you enter the room, your life still belongs in the human circle. And maybe connection will not come all at once. Maybe it will come as a smile from the librarian, a person who saves you a seat, a volunteer coordinator who says, we could use your help, a walking partner who asks, same time next week? A neighbor sitting at your kitchen table with both hands around a cup of coffee. Small things But small things are not nothing. They are how life comes back through the door. So this week, choose one place. Just one. Return to it gently. Let yourself be seen. Let yourself be useful. Let yourself be a beginner again. And if it feels awkward, do not disappear. Awkwardness is allowed. Silence is allowed. Slow beginnings are allowed. You are not failing because connection takes time. You are rebuilding something tender, and tender things should not be rushed. After retirement, life may become quieter, but quiet does not have to mean disconnected. There are still places where your name can become familiar. There are still rooms where your presence can matter. There are still people who may be waiting for someone exactly like you to say hello. So begin with one doorway, one place, one small return to the world, and let connection find you there. Slowly, one familiar face at a time. If this felt familiar, leave a small hello in the comments. And if you already have one place where you feel a little less alone, share just the place. A library, a church, a park, a coffee shop, a volunteer table. Your answer may help someone else. Take their first step.